Hi guys, Mike here from KS Bushcraft Down Under. So this is my new Troopcarrier, so it's still a work in progress. I still can't make up my mind whether I go the full Monty draw system and sort of make it a more permanent sort of camper, or keeping it for maximum practicality because I use it for work as well. So at the moment this vehicle has no 12 volt power supply to the rear. I mean, lots of other vehicles do, but this doesn't, as far as I can find. So I want to put a power outlet. Now there's an accessory box on the driver's side of this vehicle that can either provide engine on, power all the time, or ignition on. So it's got three options. So that's the easy target for some wiring. So if in the future, if I go with a dual battery, I'll put the system on the passenger side where the crank battery is. Now, not enough room under the bonnet for a battery. Thank you, overly loud car. The crank battery is on the passenger side of the vehicle, so if I put a dual battery system in, it'll probably be on the passenger side. Now, those that follow my videos know that most of the time I use my Yeti coolers. I can get 5 days out of a small one, a bit longer out of a large one, and 2 days usually out of a dual battery system. But if I put a system in here that I can use my fridge to transport stuff or to chill stuff down while I'm driving, that would be a step ahead. Also, if I'm going somewhere that has mains power, I could take my car fridge, keep it running in the car, and transfer it over to mains power. So, thoughts on connectors. Anderson plugs have their place outside. Now, some fridges, Engels not included, if you interrupt the power for a microsecond, they won't turn back on. The older Engels with a manual switch do. So, my AIB fridge, if you knock the voltage for a microsecond, it doesn't turn back on until you hit the button. Now, that can go quite badly. So, a reliable connection is paramount. So, for decades, I used these low voltage sockets, and absolutely brilliant, by the way. If you can get good quality ones, there are some absolutely shockers out there. But I settled on an Engel socket because I've got two Engel fridges and one ARB. So these connections here are actually threaded. So you pull the cigarette socket apart, it screws in. So I've used these in the past inside vehicles, not outside. 100% reliable. So my next point is, I don't want to start drilling holes in the car if I can't make up my mind what I'm going to do. So it's going to be this side of the car. So there's a divot. There's a divot here, and I thought that's not a bad spot right at the back. It's a possibility for the future. That bracket must be the ugliest bracket in the world, maybe that was left over when they had inward facing seats. That's the jack handles. So there's two brackets there, and I think the one I'm going to target is the closest to the rear seat. So it's a strange shape as well. So if I make a bracket that'll fit on the inside of that, basically be between the bolt heads and the bracket, it won't even touch the backboard, which would be a good thing. So it won't leave any telltale marks that there's a bracket's even been there. It'll be 100% removable, so there's no great loss. I could run armoured cable down under the floor, through the bulkhead, and straight that connector. So I think that's the go. And it's easy enough to change out in the future. So we'll start to mark out a bracket. It's going to be a bit of complicated cutting because there's it's not flat. It's got a rolled edge and a bulge in it. So we'll make a start on that. Alright guys, looks a pretty reasonable job of it, so that'll sit over there like that. That'll come in here. So I'll put that on there like that. Yeah, pretty happy with that. So I'll get this riveted up and we'll have a test fit. Well, that's looking the part, guys. So I should have enough clearance so none of this touches. One of my rivets is stainless steel, must have got mixed up in the box. So we'll have a test fit of this and see how we go for clearance on the back. But let's look on the job. Well guys, I'm pretty pleased with how that's looking. So I've armoured up the cable with some wrap. It misses everything including these bars, which is nice. It's not touching on the back here, I'll give you a look behind. So it's not touching the board at all. So it's not going to leave any witness marks from that. The angle cable which screws in reaches anywhere in the back of the car or even between the front seats. Should I stick the 15 in there? So that's a lot of flexibility. So I'm going to route this cable under the floor up to the bulkhead, and I've got to get some more convoluted tubing. I don't have enough. So when you're messing with 12 volt, really step it up. Anywhere the cable touches the metal, armour it, because you don't want to be driving 1,000 k's of corrugations and having it rub through somewhere. So there is the back. So pretty pleased so far. Anyway, been another trip to J-Car for some convoluted tubing and maybe a couple of grommets. Apologies for the angles guys, but what I'm trying to show you here is, like, this is the driver's seatbelt anchor. When you're routing your cable, make sure you're not near the edge of this, or that you've moved the factory loom so it interferes with it either. So you don't want this cutting through any of that. So make sure you check your path of resistance and don't be shy in using cable ties. So I'll follow this along. Needs to be a bit of room under this clip and to the firewall. Okay guys, so now I'm going to route the power cable through to the accessory box. So I'm following the factory loom, so there's a few tricks along here. So I've removed the screws, but this clip plate is still locked in. There's actually locking tabs below every screw. So there's actually a little slots here, 3 of them, even though there's 4 screws. So you're better off using a pry tool, a plastic one, to pop this out. And this one has to go out first, and then there's the quarter panel. I'll try and get the camera in there to show you that one, and we'll get this open. Right, so if you haven't got a plastic pry tool, you get a big flat screwdriver and put it inside a plastic bag before you go in here. That's all you need to do. Just run your thumb on. See, that one's locked there, and there's one here. And it's not playing the game. So just come along close to the clip and lift it. So there's the clip underneath. Right, so that's it out there. So you don't want to be snapping these off or muzzling them up. Okay guys, so I have to go handheld. So I've undone this little stud. That's on the quarter panel there. So we're in here, here comes our cable up. So I'm going to tuck it up, and we're going to head for that large grommet up there. It's got 3 pre-weakened spots to pass a cable through from the other side. So we're nearly at the accessory box. So we want to make sure that this cable doesn't interfere with any wiring, especially the pedals or the fly-by-wire, and we'll keep it as neat as we can. Alright guys, a bit cramped under here for filming. So this is our power cable, and that weakened part in the grommet is where I'm aiming for. Now I want to come under this fly-by-wire cable. I don't want to be interfering with that at all. And that's the hood release. So I can come under there. Now I won't be able to get this armour through on the first pull. I might be able to get it through on the second. It's easier to come from the inside to the engine bay than the other way around, because there's a nipple on the other side. So I'll take the cap off the nipple, and be really careful when you're dealing with these. I've seen guys jamming kebab sticks through them and all sorts. Be really certain of what's on the other side. Right, it's difficult for me to show you with the light. So what I've done, I've put my bore light down there from the inside, so the hole is clear. So I'll turn it around the other way and show you from the inside. So that speck of light is the bore lights sticking through. And that light spot there is the
ball light coming through. So I'll pass a like whippersnipper cord through, and then I'll get my cable started on the way out. Right guys, so there's my whippersnipper cord. Now I want to make sure I don't catch up on here. So I've taped the whippersnipper cord a good distance on the wire. I'm going to lubricate this with lanolin spray in the grommet, and my positive cable's down here. So I get the first half of the cable through, then I can adjust the length. So just go slow and steady, don't be tearing it, yeah, because you don't want to be catching any wires or anything. So just take your time. Right guys, we've got our cable through. I don't know how well you can see it, but there it is there. So I've armoured it all the way up. So this is our accessory box. Got 3 fuses. Now they've got a little bit of a cutout here, so I don't know if it's just a standard ring connector or they have something special. So there's a hole in the bottom of the box, so you can come up through here. You've got 1 earth and the 3 outlets. So smart move for me would be to wire it so it only comes on when the motor's running. That way with no danger of flattening the fridge. So I'll find out if they are using a special type of connector or it's just a ring connector. It almost appears to be like a standard household connection where you just stick the wire underneath and screw it down. That seems a bit crude. Okay guys, so I tried to make a job of it. We're using standard ring fittings and it looks shocking. They need to be P-shaped. So what I did, I soldered the wires, formed them into a P-shape and routed them through. So this will only be live when the engine is running. If I'd have gone to the right here, it would be when the ignition is on, and this one here all the time. So I only want this power to be available when the engine is running. So looks a reasonable job. So there are clips on the bottom of these, so you can actually unclip the bottom if you need to get a really thick cable through. So the camera doesn't like this light at all. For some reason the camera prefers this light. Right. So there's the cable. It's armoured all the way through and up from the bottom of the box. So it's as best insulated I can. The only place the 2 are in contact is stacked on top of each other, so it shouldn't be an issue. So a nice neat job to the firewall. So we'll go to the back and we'll test it. Righto guys, so we're done. So I'll continue to use my Yeti because it's just so much easier than fridges. But now I can run my Engel. Now if I go dual batteries in the future, I've got a direct line to the alternator, so a good DC charger, it's running at 20-25 amps. This draws 5 when it's running. So if I run it directly from the alternator, I can let the DC to DC fully charge a battery. So I'm pretty happy with that. A nice install. I haven't drilled any holes in the car, which I didn't want to. Try and make my mind up what I'm going to do with the back. Anyway guys, if this type of content helps you out, helps life make it easier for you, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time because it's too hot out here. I'll be getting... Oh, Jesus Christ.